Hello, everyone. If this place looks familiar, well, then you know what? It should look familiar because we are back once again at Kristen's Tailgate, Midtown, Houston, Texas, getting ready for NFL Division Round playoffs. And oh my God, guess who showed up? I am not here by myself. He came out of nowhere. Welcome to the show, my co host from the coach's quarters, Jacob Meadows.
What is up, Gene? I missed being here. It has been an awful layoff being, elsewhere. I did get a new job. It has been absorbing me on Sundays, but I made it work today, and we are back, baby. I am excited to be here. There are Bills fans as far as the eye can see in this bar, and I love it.
Yeah, this bar is getting packed, and there's one reason why we strategically set this show for this hour, folks. Thank all of you for joining us here for this 2 hour show, the Mean Gene Show, is because, like Jacob said, there's a lot of Bills fans here, and there's no way we could have done this show with the Bills and Ravens game. So this is the best time. But let us go ahead and say hello to our man back in the studio, AJ.
Yes, sir. What's up, guys?
What's going on, my man?
Not much. I kind of hate that the Commanders won, but I'm also kind of happy the Lions lost because their fans need to get humbled for sure.
Well, look here. I tell you what, we cannot wait to get into all of the action that took place this weekend, including the game that's taking place right now. We are right in the middle of the LA Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles division around here. That score 13-10, 7 minutes left to go before the half. But we got a whole lot of stuff to talk about, including Jacob. Oh my goodness. It is a sad, 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 sad day in the city of Houston because our Texans lost that game yesterday. And we're going to get all into it. It was a terrible game to watch, and I can just imagine how those guys are feeling. But I wonder what those refs got paid. We can say it, damn it.
Yeah, right. I wonder how much they're pocketing off of that because there was a lot of stolen momentum in that first half via the officials, and I'm glad that somebody can say it on air because man, I know the media pundits can't, but it was a travesty to
It,
watch.
it really was, folks. So once again, we are at 2000 Bagby Street in Midtown Houston for some great food and football today. If you are driving around looking for a place to come and watch this game, you still got a whole lot of game left here in this Rams Eagles divisional round. But the big game tonight, folks. Me and Jacob, we're gonna be sitting here. We're gonna be eating some of these good old hamburgers they got here. If you know anything about this place, Kristen's Tailgate. Okay, there's several of them all around I almost said the
The
country,
city.
the city. They are known for their hamburgers, just their signature hamburgers. I mean, we're looking at all this food here now. We can't even touch it. AJ saw me suffer last week. As I had some catfish to the side, man. I had to sneak and go eat it, man. My stomach was growling, AJ.
I went to Christian's tailgate yesterday off of Kirby, so I love
So
going there.
so you already know what we're talking about here. So Jacob, they got catfish, they got they got hot wings, you name it, man. These Bills fans are getting ready. You see what they're
They are,
doing over here.
yeah.
They're getting ready for this big game here. So, as we mentioned, we're going to recap yesterday's disappointing Texans loss to the Chiefs and the colossal collapse of the Detroit Lions
Man,
at Ford Field.
it was a heartbreaker for the Lions and all the Lions fans. I mean, you can you can say what you will about them, right? They do have more people on IR than any other team in the league, but what a monumental collapse! Shout out AJ for the Commanders being the greatest young team in the NFL. I love that for you and for your division. So that was an incredible game to watch on both sides. The collapse sucked, but there are young teams on the rise in the NFL, and we are watching it in real time as they are improving before our eyes.
With exciting quarterbacks. I tell you what, man, these quarterbacks that made the playoffs, including these two guys that are playing right now, these guys know something about Super Bowls. I mean, we got two quarterbacks here. Well, one has won a Super Bowl. Hurts been to a Super Bowl. I mean, this is probably the deepest experience that we've seen in a while in these playoffs, with the exception of the Washington Commanders. Will somebody tell them they are not supposed to be here? Who the hell's gonna tell them?
I hope nobody tells him that. I am loving Jaden Daniels shredding people left and right. There's a reason he won the Heisman. There's a reason that he went so high in the draft. The fact that Chicago took Caleb Williams over him was nuts, and Jaden is putting everybody on watch that he really was the best player in last year's draft.
AJ, this is some of the most exciting football. Look, I knew when Washington went down there and scored with ease, and everything you hear about this guy, his poise, and he just you could. It's like he's been here before.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's an impressive young quarterback, and just to have his team already in the NFC Championship game, already having 2 playoff wins, like it's crazy. We thought C.J. Stroud had the greatest rookie year of all time last year. This is literally way higher of a level. Like, bro, these one game away from being in the Super Bowl as a rookie. That's crazy. You can't. I don't care what any Washington Commanders fan says. They didn't imagine any type of close success in this season, so it's just a dream for them for sure. But it's happening in reality.
And it's got to be tough for you, AJ, just like Jacob said.
I mean,
in the
yeah.
NFC
I mean, but I like
this
Jaden
guy's going
Daniels,
to be around
but
for a long
yeah,
time.
because it's the Commanders, but also, like I said, the Lions. I mean, their fans got a little cocky. I know you remember when they played against the Cowboys, they had the linemen, doing all that, and you said it might come back on them, and hey, it did. So,
Jacob,
yes.
did you just? I knew Detroit might be in some trouble when they just went down there and they scored with ease. I mean, did you figure it was going to be a high scoring game the way it ended up being?
I didn't think there'd be 52 points scored in the first half. I did think there'd be a lot of points scored, but I didn't think it would be at the volume that it was actually scored. It was 31-21 in the first half, and that was bonkers. I didn't expect that by any means. And I mean, if you take away the turnovers, right? Jared Goff kind of morphed into the LA Rams Jared Goff, that's how he ended up in Detroit in the first place. And you take those away, the game looks completely different. But that Washington defense was swarming that ball last night. And I mean, just a couple of misplaced balls, and that was it. The Commanders took advantage of every opportunity they got, and they capitalized almost every time, and they deserve to be here. And it is a beautiful thing to see.
This is why people should have seen this coming when you just mentioned defense. Well, Dan Quinn is one of those guys. He's been a head coach before, but everyone knows that he is a defensive genius.
Mm-hmm.
What did he do to take care of the offense? He went and got another offensive-minded genius, Cliff Kingsbury, to work with a young quarterback. I mean, this was a good ingredient. I mean, this is just. I mean, shame on us for not seeing this coming. But man, I just don't know how the hell a rookie quarterback gets into the NFC Championship game. But this is not unfamiliar territory for Dan Quinn.
No, not at all. One of the cool trends that they're bucking right now is Washington had a lot of free agent signings. And a lot of times when you bring in a lot of guys from outside of the organization, it takes time to develop chemistry. Then you really lose a lot of that luster that a team can get when they build together. But you bring in a Frankie Louvu, you bring in a Bobby Wagner, you bring in an Austin Eckler, and you bring in all of these guys, Jeremy Chin at safety, and they are explosive. They've bought into Dan Quinn's system, and there is a reason that they're going to the conference championship, and that is it. They have been able to build together in one season. Everybody likes ELE, right? Everybody love everybody. Will Ferrell said that on Semi-Pro, and it rings true. And they're doing it. Dan Quinn has built the perfect system for the players that he has brought in, and everything is jived with the carryovers. And it's worth noting, Cliff Kingsbury is the best offensive coordinator in the NFL this year, and it shows.
Say it. I'll tell you what, we're going to break it down even more. And we're just getting started here, folks. Once again, it's the Mean Gene Show with Jacob Meadows. Our producer, AJ, is back in the studio. I know, AJ, man, we have to get you out for one of these, man. We just hate having all this fun. And we want to get you to come out here. But you did come out here. What did you eat the other day? Did you have a burger?
No, I'm gonna try their burgers one day. I still haven't had it, but I had their chicken tender wrap, some mashed potatoes, and then like their bowl of nuggets. It was pretty good. Usually when I go there, like I get some different things, like their wings, their jalapeno mac and cheese, just a lot of different stuff. But yeah, they have a lot of.
It's good food all over the place, folks. Like I said, if you're looking for a place, you're driving around town. Look, this is probably the last day that you can actually drive around town because according to all the weathermen,
snow,
town,
baby,
we're getting snow. What the hell is going on? Snow in Houston, not just snow, but 3 to 6 inches. Please say it ain't so. And when did a storm come from the Gulf of Mexico, a winter storm? What the hell is going on, Jacob?
It's global warming, Gene. That's got to be what it is. It's global warming. The globe's warming up. It's getting colder outside in Texas. It is a crazy time to be alive.
It's more than crazy, but I tell you what, it's a great time to be an NFL fan. And look, we're going to talk about this a little bit later. If your team is not in the playoffs and you one of those sour guys or girls that just says, I'm not watching any more football, then you know what? Then just don't watch anymore. You have to be a fan of this game to appreciate what's going on. There's some great football going on. Look, my team is not in this thing. Jacob, your team is not in it. AJ, okay, never mind.
Hold on now. You ain't have to say it like that. You could have just said the same thing like you and Jacob. Because they're not in it.
You know I had to go there, AJ. I tell you what, folks. Look, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna break down this Texans game. What's next for the Texans? Talk a little bit more about the officiating or lack of, whatever. You're listening to the Mean Gene Show live at Christian's Tailgate, Midtown Houston, on ESPN 97.5 Houston.
This is the Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
From the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Mean Gene.
All right, folks, we are back once again. Jacob Meadows, Mean Gene. We are at Christian's Tailgate in Midtown Houston. That is 2000 Bagby Street. If you're driving around looking for a place to come hang out, big time Bills Ravens game tonight. That's where I can't believe we're in Houston and there are a ton of Buffalo Bills fans here. So you know this place is going to get crazy here in about another hour and a half.
I really think the Bills are going to win. I think all these people are going to be real happy. Most of them are going to be real drunk. It's going to be a great party here at Christian's Tailgate.
It's going to be a crazy party here. So look, we were here last week. We're here this week, and I tell you what, the staff here has just been so wonderful and have just gone out of their way to accommodate us. But look, let's get more into the Houston Texans, Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, yesterday, I mean, everyone knew it was going to be a tall order. And I think yesterday what we saw, or at least what I saw, and I know you did too, Jacob, is that, man, the officiating, I mean, sometimes things are just so obvious. And it was just one of those games, and sometimes, they can just take you out of the game. But before we talk about, the officiating, let's talk about some of the things that the Texans did wrong. And let's talk about the kickoff
The kick returner, the dude came and shoved the coach there in the beginning.
Can we just talk about that for a minute?
So he released a presser. He released an apology earlier this morning, stating that, hey, it was nothing bad, right? He's like, I got caught up in my emotions. He didn't realize there was a flag on the play, so he forced the fumble, right? Boyd forced the fumble, so he came back, and it was one of those things where he shoved his coach, because he was hyped up. He was like, yeah, we did it. We're here. Like, we're about to knock the Chiefs off. Like, got real into it. And then there was a flag, and then it didn't. It was a lot all at once.
And that's what I gathered too, folks. We're talking about Chris Boyd. Call it a meltdown, or I'd like to refer to it as just one of those heat of the moments. I like the way D'Amico Ryans handled that, and special team coach Frank Ross. I mean, this is part of the game. That is just not indicative of a Houston Texans team. I mean, it was the I tell you what, so we have a soundbite from D'Amico Ryans. Let's go ahead and listen to the coach.
We knew going into this game, man, it was us versus everybody. Right? When I say everybody, it's everybody, all the whatever. Everybody, the naysayers, the doubt, right? Everybody.
Well, I tell you what, I like how he elaborated on everybody. I think we kind of know what he's talking about. I mean, he's not going to come out and attack the referees. That's just not what he does.
Oh, well, he doesn't get paid enough to do that, right? They hit him right in the pocket.
And that is a fine, so I like the way he did it. Everybody, the elements, the fans, and the officiating. And I think Coach Ryans is smart enough to know that, look here, guys, you already know you got one enemy out there, and that's the Zebras, right? And so you got the team. Come on now, let's, we've been here before. But I tell you what, though, let's talk about the kicking. I mean, Fairbairn, this guy has just really been on point all season. What happened yesterday?
On the money all year. He's been all money since he got hurt. Agumba Wale was kicking kicks for us, and then Fairbairn came back, and he has been just a constant for us. And I think a mixture of, the wind was whipping, right? They were in Kansas City. It was colder than hell outside. And I think it really just got to him. But you can't miss 2 field goals and an extra point. You have those 7 points. The Texans lost 23-14. You have those 7 points, and all of a sudden you're driving for a field goal at the end of this game to put her away. And I don't care what anybody has to say about the officials stealing momentum. I was cheering against the refs all game. Right, that first half was brutal, watching them just steal drives out from under Houston. But at the end of the day, you have to execute. You have to do your job. The one person that the refs can't actually work against is the kicker. And Fairbairn missed 2 field goals that were very makeable, especially against his season average in length. And then he missed an extra point that was not blocked. Granted, the last field goal was actually blocked.
It was blocked, yeah.
But there's nothing you can do when you're not executing at a high level in the playoffs. You're not going to win. And at the end of the day, that is what happened. It did kind of look like the Texans kind of gave up there at the end. How could you not, though, right? Like, you have the 2 roughing the passer penalties in the first half that stole momentum out from the hands of Houston. Kansas City gets the momentum. Kansas City turns that into, I believe, 10 total points. But the penalties also didn't make us give 117 yards up to Travis Kelce, right?
That's true.
The penalties also didn't keep us from stopping their run game in the moments that mattered. Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, neither of them had a terrific game. But when it mattered the most, especially there at the fourth quarter when the Texans were staging a comeback, they couldn't do anything to stop them.
Yeah.
And that's indicative of how the game went. Houston needs to improve on certain things. Do I think that Houston probably wins if Kansas City's not in the refs' pockets in the first half? Yeah, I do absolutely think that Houston was the better team. That's why they led in every major statistical category and still took an L last night. But at the end of the day, professionals are going to have to play at a professional level. And when you make as many mistakes, CJ Stroud got sacked 8 times. The refs didn't do that.
Yeah.
Right? The line couldn't block. They were about as effective as a wet paper bag. So there are issues that Houston has that can be corrected that would lead to the same outcome not happening again, Gene.
And look here, I tell you what. The body language from the kicker, the team, after you just, it's almost like you're just letting the air out of the balloon slowly. You could kind of see that. But now I do like what Will Anderson said. He wasn't impressed with the officiating. But he said, you know what, when the ref's against you, you just got to keep it going. You got to keep it going. And I think they did the best that they could do. And it was funny too. You mentioned statistically, man, they were like, they were covering grounds that teams that don't cover
Yeah.
in the playoffs. So you would think that, man, all, yeah, I mean, it looked like they had a chance to win this game here. And then you just slowly, it just started slipping away from us.
It's worth noting that the defense played fantastic, right? There was only one wide receiver for the Chiefs that caught the ball, period. There was only one. It was Xavier Worthy out of the University of Texas. Their entire offense was Travis Kelce. Their run averages were terrible. Combined, Pacheco and Hunt didn't have over 100 rush yards. It literally was just Travis Kelce, and there were multiple times because in the presser that we had a clip from the D'Amico Ryan statement, right? He also stated that there were multiple times that they had people out of position. Bullock, the rookie safety, he was out of position on the big Travis Kelce touchdown that ended up really burying the dagger into us. And there were so many times where Travis Kelce was just left uncovered. He's 10 yards down the field. This is a dude that's a Hall of Fame tight end, and there was nobody within 10 yards of him. So, it was one of those things where when you really take a look at it, the defense played phenomenally, right? We put pressure on Patrick Mahomes, although you can't get too close to him or it's a flag. And we covered every wide receiver perfect. Sting and Lassiter were fantastic. There were small mistakes that led to a greater problem in the end, and that was a lot of what we were seeing.
Okay, so it's the second straight year the Texans season ended in divisional round of the playoffs. What is it going to take for this team to get over the hump? Things change in the NFL, which, it stands for not for long. Okay, other teams, the AFC is just completely stacked. So we talked about, we saw what CJ Stroud did. And look, I know Texans fans wish that, he would have had the type of year, his rookie year, that Jaden Daniels is having. All of that just came together pretty fast. But this team is still good,
Yes.
and I think what we need to know now is what's next for this team. Who's under contract, who's coming back, because you got to be careful with the changes you make because you could be
Big contracts on the way out.
You got the Broncos. The AFC is really stacking up to be very competitive.
Yes. So, to a point, right, from an outsider's perspective, I can give you a little bit. You cut Shaq Mason, the right guard. You swing Titus Howard into the guard position. And then you draft or bring in a veteran tackle that can shore up that offensive line. And that should fix a lot of your O-line problems. And then, at the end of the day, we're missing Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs in the wide receiving core. We were weak there. No disrespect to Xavier Hutchinson or John Mechie, but that's not it, right? So you re-sign Stephon Diggs. He has expressed interest in coming back. So you bring back Diggs, and then you reach out around the league and you try to find another receiver. You can draft another receiver, but that's never a sure shot. You really should so if they could swing a trade for maybe a Darius Slayton out of the Giants, right? You do that. You re-sign Stephon Diggs and you run it back with your current group. You draft a running back to be behind Joe Mixon. I like Dameon Pierce, and I've stood by his side since he was drafted. But realistically, he could be a better RB2, right? So you could do that. So then your O-line is fixed. Your wide receiver core is a little bit stronger. You have Cade Stover, who went on the IR right before the game with KC. He'll be back. CJ Stroud loves Cade Stover. And then outside of that, you need another safety, right? Jimmy Ward's an amazing NFL safety, very unreliable when it comes to health, right? So you bring in another safety outside of Bullock. You get Petrie back, who's also on the shelf on IR. So, you get those positions back, you're good to go.
Well, I'll tell you what, I like that you mentioned offensive line because C.J. Stroud was sacked 52 times this season.
Second most in the league, Gene.
That right there cannot happen. And if you're wondering why he didn't have the stellar year that he had of his rookie year, well, there you go. Okay, you just can't spend, 52 times on your backside, okay? But now, you mentioned some of these players' positions that they need. Looking at the 2025 draft, they got 6 picks in this draft. Seems like they're in a position to cover all of their needs. We're not even talking free agency.
Yes.
So, they got a first round, second round, third round. They got that 5th round from Buffalo from
the Diggs trade.
Diggs trade. So then they got a 7th round pick. So they could pretty much cover every need that you just mentioned, which is something that they're going to really have to do here. And but I tell you what, this is not the panic, button. You know, I'm, you're not going to panic. We're going to talk about a team later on in the show. This Detroit Lions team, the window of opportunity. Me and Dustin Pfeiffer, we talk about it a lot on the Sports King show. The window opens and closes real quick. I mean, you're good today. You maybe not as great, or tomorrow, because things change. So I still think that as far as the AFC South goes, they're gonna rule the AFC South.
Yes.
You already know what's going to be happening in Jacksonville. They're starting all over again. Tennessee, they're probably going to be starting all over again. So the Colts is probably the one worry that you're going to have to really worry about. But I still see this as being a Houston Texans division. So look, we are at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, we're going to continue on. Plus, we got a halftime score from the divisional round between the Rams and the Eagles. It's the BG Show live at Kristen's Tailgate on ESPN 97.5 Houston.
You're listening to The Mean Gene Show
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
for the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
All righty, folks, we are getting it in here on a divisional round playoff Sunday here at Kristen's Tailgate, Midtown Houston. There's so many of these locations. I heard you almost went to the wrong one. Where the hell were you going?
I sure did. Yeah, I'm driving
Were
around.
you going to Kirby?
I sure was. I was going to Kurt. I don't know Houston very well. I'm driving in circles out here. I had to parallel park, which freaked out everybody around me because I grew up in a small country town, and it wasn't even something that you did.
AJ, wah, wah, wah. You hear all this mess. We should have let them go over to Kirby.
Not everybody's fancy like y'all.
And we
Nah,
would've had them
I
call
feel
in
no.
from
It's
the
hard
Kirby
to,
location.
and sometimes in Houston, especially when you get lost, man.
Yeah, man, it's a jungle out here.
Right.
You know what? Pick your favorite Christian's tailgate. I cannot say which one is my favorite because I really do like this one here. They all have their own different vibe. So we're sitting here now, and this is probably like 85, maybe 90, no, 95% Bills fans. I don't see one Ravens fan in there. You know why? Because the Ravens fans are gathering at the Heights Christian tailgate. So I mean, it's one reason why I love this city so much is because it's diverse in so many ways. you can be all over. It's not like Dallas where if you're not a fan of the Cowboys, you're not welcome nowhere in Dallas.
Just not inclusive down there in
No,
Dallas.
but you come here, you can be a fan of any team you want, and look, they have their own bar. It's not like they rented this place out. They just showed up. I mean, they are here, But that game is going to be great here. Real quick, just to kind of put a little closure to the game yesterday. Look, we're not making excuses, but we are definitely going to call out the obvious. If the referees screwed up, they did. However, the former senior vice president of officiating with the NFL, um,
Dean
Dean
Blandino.
Blandino, he said that those two controversial personal foul penalties on Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes in the divisional round were correct calls. Okay, I mean, say what you will. It just needs to be noted that we didn't appreciate it. Okay, and you have to just keep calling it out because you get anywhere close to Patrick Mahomes. If you say good evening, how you doing, Mister
It's a flag.
Mahomes? It's a flag.
You can't
Okay? I
breathe
mean,
on the man.
and it's not just because the Texans lost yesterday. We say that with every team that plays.
Yeah, there's been games all year long, not against Houston, where it was the same nonsense, right? People
talk
get
to the Raiders. Talk to a lot of teams that played them this year, and it was pretty much the same thing. But anyway, we're gonna move on, and let's talk about the game last night between the Washington Commanders and the Detroit Lions. Look, there's a reason why you want the number one seed. And the number one seed is so important. Now you're wondering, like, man, how does a team make it to the NFC Championship game? A year, previous year, and get beat in the first round. Were they not prepared? What did they do? I mean, it's tough. It's really
Yes.
tough. And I tell you one reason why I respect the hell out of Dan Campbell, because I know it was tough to do that presser last night.
Yeah, you could see it in his eyes.
This guy, he shed tears. I mean, you can hear it in his voice. That guy that's a man's man.
It is, and he's a football guy. Like, Dan Campbell gets it. Dan Campbell's everything that you want in your head coach for any NFL team. It just works the best for Detroit because they have just been so mediocre for so long, and he has brought a culture to that team that they've never necessarily known before. Even, they had the greats, Barry Sanders, Megatron, right? Like, they've had the talent. They had a great quarterback named Matthew Stafford for many years that's actually playing right now. But they never had the culture, and that's why they didn't win games. And Dan Campbell has brought in this culture, and there are a handful of excuses you can make for why they lost this game, and I will die on the hill that those are the reason why, because that man will win a Super Bowl before he loses his job as head coach of the Detroit Lions.
I hope he does. And look, Detroit is one of those teams that, and folks, it's halftime, by the way. That's why the Earth, Wind, and Fire music is playing in the background there. I don't know if you can hear that, AJ, but I kind of want to jam a little bit. You can hear it. Okay. So anyway, it's 13-10. The Philadelphia Eagles are up by 3. This is a very close game. What's going to happen in the second half before these guys get back on the field? Can Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, and the Philadelphia Eagles defense, can they take it to the NFC Championship game?
I don't think they can, Gene. I don't think they can. I took the Rams and the Bills to go to the Super Bowl, and I'm going to stand on that hill until someone pushes me off of it. I think the Rams stage a great second-half comeback. I think Matt Stafford's the better pure passer of the two. I think he's got more weapons at his disposal right now. I think they're both good at playing in cold weather. I think it's more of an experience thing. I think the Rams have a better defense, and I have a small amount of bias because I did take the Rams to make it to the bowl as a wild card.
So you invested it.
Yes.
So here's the thing, though, because this is 2 weeks in a row now where we have seen a slow offensive start here by the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
Barkley comes to the rescue as always. So I'm still seeing the offense struggle just a little bit here. The Rams are good. Everyone said that this was the team that you didn't want to play.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's really the Washington Commanders is the team that you don't want to play. But I don't know. I mean, I think, I kind of, what I did see, because, we were setting up here for the show, it looked like that crowd is tuned in. They're not going to let them lose this game. Everyone saw what happened last night in Detroit. I think the Eagles are going to pull this one out. I picked them to win. I think they're going to get there.
There's not any arguments that you can make. Like, both of these teams are good, right? They both have their niches. The only reason that I even picked against the Philadelphia Eagles because Jalen Hurts was injured going into the playoffs, and I think that that's going to affect him. That's why his passing numbers aren't great, right? Like, they've had issues in their passing game going up to this point. So I do think that the Rams are a more balanced team. But, I mean, honestly, either of these teams makes it. They both deserve it. Right, Nick Sirianni's done a great job in Philadelphia this year. It's a far cry from what they had last year, where they had new coordinators and there was no, it just wasn't a functional group. They collapsed second half of the season. Like, that is not the Philadelphia Eagles that we have today. And
Well, you got Hurts and Barkley are running. They're getting it done on the ground.
They sure are. And you know what? If the MVP went to a non-quarterback, the only person that should be in that running is Saquon Barkley. It should be Saquon across the board, and it shouldn't even be competitive. If it's not a quarterback, it's Saquon.
I know. I tell you what. So they're getting ready to kick off. Let's go back last night and recap a little bit of what happened at Ford Field. In case you didn't know, you were not watching or paying attention. Let me just tell you what happened. Jaden Daniels threw for 2 touchdowns. And who's that rookie? Mike
Santra still?
Ish. Yeah. Mike S. Okay, had 2 interceptions, and they put on a performance for the ages last night by beating the Detroit Lions, the number 1 seed in the NFC, 45-31. And believe me, there were times when it really wasn't close. And Jared Goff, it was just heartbreaking to see him struggle and have the game that he had last night. And this is what now a couple of weeks in a row we have seen two quarterbacks struggle. We saw Sam Donald struggle, and everyone remembers what the old Jared Goff was. That was the LA Rams Jared Goff, the one that they didn't appreciate. And man, I tell you what, I really felt for that team. I don't know. And Dan Campbell gave credit to the Washington Commanders, but man, they took advantage of every play, everything. They were ready to play. You could not tell them that they were on the road last night.
No,
you couldn't play like it.
Not even remotely. I will say, and it's worth noting just to tie it into the Texans game, if Jared Goff got one of the roughing calls that Patrick Mahomes got, this game probably does look a little different. Jared Goff got beat to piss last night. He was getting absolutely meleeed every single chance he got. Every time he turned around, he was getting smacked into the ground, and the refs just looked the other way for it. And there were a handful of times where it looked like it should have been penalized.
Yeah.
Jared Goff played a terrible game. Like you said, Jared Goff looked like the Rams' Jared Goff. He did not look good. He did not look poised. He looked scared. He was pissing down his leg. This Commanders team was something I don't think that they expected to be so good, which is a testament to Dan Quinn. Shout out to you, AJ. Thank you for giving him away.
And look here, and I don't know how much time Detroit had to kind of, look at film here. I didn't even expect the Commanders to be here. I had Tampa Bay winning in the wild card round. So you're starting to see this here. I mean, this is uncharted territory almost, to have a rookie come out there and play the way he did and the play calling. I mean, this team is going to be around. Now, we'll see, who they're going to play here next week. However, now, if the Rams were to win tonight and knock off the Eagles, then the NFC Championship game would be in SoFi. So, because they were division winners.
Yep.
So, we're going to see how this goes. I mean, there's a lot of snow on the field right now. Rams got the ball. They're driving 13-10 here. The Eagles are winning. But as far as the Washington Commanders, man, I tell you what, they were a 9.5-point underdog.
Mm-hmm.
How do you win by 14?
Sometimes it's beginner's luck, right? Jaden Daniels is a rookie in the league. You sell it like he has no experience in the playoffs. He's never been to anything similar. I don't care what you say about college football. Nothing's going to be similar to the NFL playoffs. That's the reason it's professional football. And, nobody could have accounted for the fact that Jaden Daniels was going to play like a 14-year vet. Nobody could have known. Plus, he is one heck of a dual-threat quarterback. He is great on his legs. He knows when to give up on the play. He knows when to run out of bounds. He knows when not to take a hit. And I think that helps that team more than anything. That he has 2 incredible running backs in Brian Robinson, and then also Austin Eckler. And, I mean, he makes a pretty if you look at it on paper, he makes a pretty mediocre wide receiver crew look good outside of Scary Terry, who has been underrated his entire career. But Diami Brown was his leading receiver.
Yeah.
So there's like, how do you can't game plan around the fact that their wide receiver 2/wide receiver 3 is going to come out and torch you.
And I've been seeing a lot of this. I mean, you can game plan and scout, but that's why they got 52 men on the roster, 53 men on the roster. So any one of them on any given Sunday or Saturday could get you. And man, just amazing what this rookie is doing. And but I want to go back to Jared Goff again. Okay, so look, 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and a strip sack. Not his best. I just like how Dan Campbell, he never, ever, ever, ever throws his players under the bus.
No.
He feels for all of those guys because he knows the hard work that they put in from training camp to last night. And I think America kind of was rooting for the Detroit Lions because they wanted to see them finally get in there. But look, hey, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the first hour here. You're listening to the Mean Gene Show with Jacob Meadows. AJ hanging out at the studio here on ESPN 97.5 Houston.
This is the Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
I'm pushing it back.
All right, folks, we are back once again as Jacob is trying to slide our table on the floor.
I'm gaining too much weight. I'm moving forward with the table.
If it goes, all of our equipment goes with it. So AJ, you'll be doing the second hour by yourself. All right, once again, first hour of the Mean Gene Show is almost in the books. During the commercial, we did find one Philadelphia Eagles fan amongst the 300 Buffalo Bills fans in here. And he's just walking around quiet because, he's just like, okay, all right. Okay, I told all my buddies where I was going to be at. I think all his friends showed up at some other bar.
Well, so he also lifted up his Eagles jacket. He has a Bills shirt underneath, so he's repping two teams today. He's double dipping, and he picked the right place to be with the shirt underneath. So
he's getting ready to abandon the Eagles and
move on.
Do a little Batman thing here. Okay, well, all right. Anyway, this game is getting interesting. So third quarter, no score change, 13-10. Eagles are winning, and there's snow on the field. It's not. Where is it snowing right now? I don't see the snow falling.
It looks
But,
like the snow has calmed down a little bit.
We talked earlier about, these Super Bowl quarterbacks, the experience of this, these teams this late in the postseason, anybody can win.
Yes.
Now, I just think, with the exception of last night, man, you're talking about an anomaly. That wasn't supposed to happen. But when you look at what's going on, you got two stellar quarterbacks going to be playing here in this next game. You got two, Super Bowl appearing quarterbacks playing now, man. These games are going to get tight,
Yes,
tighter.
this is going to be one of those games that's probably going to go down to the brink. You're not going to have like a 13-point separation going into the final 4 minutes of the game. This is one that's going to be a real close hug all the way up until the end of it. What a catch by Cooper Kupp.
I tell you what, the one thing I like about some of the look at the coaches here too. I know Nick Sirianni still does not get a lot of respect, but Sean McVay does. Sean McVay is still one of the youngest coaches in the NFL.
Yes.
It just don't seem like it. You remember he did take the Rams to the Super Bowl. They lost to the Patriots, and then he brings them back and they beat the Bengals. So this guy knows something about football. So would not be surprised if they take the lead here on this drive, and we're gonna see the Eagles play from behind.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting, right? With that run first mentality. Wow, there you go, Kyron Williams. But with that run first mentality, it's going to be weird to see what the Eagles are able to do because Matt Stafford's launching bombs down the field right now. He missed one and then connected with Cooper Kupp on the second back to back. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And that's why I took the Rams, because Matty Stafford is a wizard with the ball in his hands. And it's no offense to Jalen Hurts. I love and I respect his game. I just think at the end of the day, you want the quarterback that's able to really launch it. And I would take Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua over any other wide receiver tandem in the playoffs right now. So,
yeah, me and Dustin Pfeiffer, we both chose the Rams too. As a matter of fact, folks, in the bottom of the second hour, Dustin Pfeiffer from FanDuel Sports Southeast, he's also a member of Sports King, will come on and kind of break down this game. It definitely will be over that time, I think. But anyway, we both picked the Rams because, man, it's just the experience factor. Look, here's a team that plays in Southern California. And, you don't get snow in these type of conditions out there. But and even when Matthew Stafford played in Detroit, he played in a dome. So this is all experience is what you're seeing right now.
Oh, yeah. It sure is. And there are miscues, but both teams are screwing up, right? If you take one look at the field, you realize how just absolutely brutal these conditions would be to play in. I played ball in Texas.
In short sleeves, man. No sleeves.
Oh, it's warm in here. Oh, you're talking on there. Well, yeah. You're moving. When you're starting, you're moving. Your body stays warm. I never played in snow, but I tell you what, I played in like 25-degree weather, and that sucked. So I could only imagine that playing in ice would be significantly worse.
AJ, do you agree that the experience factor here, when you just sort of, besides Patrick Mahomes in these playoffs, the next experience factor is going to be Stafford and Sean McVay?
Yeah, for sure, I agree, and especially the rapport they have with one another. I think that really means a lot, and they've won a Super Bowl together too. So, although the Eagles have been there, they haven't won. So, I think it does matter. But it does matter for sure, I would say. So, him being in the league for so long, since 2008, 2009, I think so, definitely. If they tie the game up right here, they're still in a great position for sure.
I think the Eagles knew that this was not going to be an easy fight tonight.
Yeah.
And look, they still got 10 minutes left in the quarter, and another quarter after this. I think this thing is probably going to go down to whoever has the ball in their hand in the last 2 minutes.
I have to agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really like they're kicking the Rams are kicking a field goal right now. The Eagles ended up stuffing them. It was a heck of a defensive stand by Philly. The Rams got it. It's 13-13, Rams Eagles, and I have a feeling that this one's going to go back and forth very similarly to this for the rest of the game. I mean, with the snowing conditions, you're probably not going to see a lot more touchdowns anyways. It'll come down to which kicker can be more consistent. And that's going to be a tough one to gauge. I feel bad for everybody that's gambling in game, right? Taking those half game parlays, baby, that would be a difficult bet to take throughout the rest of this one.
Now, look, you don't want to start off the year losing your money. Keep your money in your pockets, okay? Don't listen to Jacob. You're going to be broke, okay? Here's another thing here. Who do the Commanders want to win this game? Who do you want to face? Do you want? Because neither one of these teams are going to be easy to beat if you're Washington. Okay, would you? And you're going to have to go on the road either way, so it doesn't really matter.
I think they would want the Rams. The Eagles played them twice. The Eagles know what they can do a little bit better. There's one thing. One thing is watching film. The other is actually playing them in person, right? Having that experience, matching up against those guys head to head. I think that's going to add a little extra weight. I think that they would rather play the Rams because they've gone head to head with the Eagles. They split it, right? 1-1, but you never want to play on the replay.
And your division opponent, yep. Like I said again, yeah. That would be a classic division game, though. And we don't know who's going to win. I think the Eagles are going to put it off. I did pick the Eagles in this game, even though the Rams have that experience. But so does Jalen Hurts. They've been to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. They have. They have a playoff caliber team. They have a lot of players on that team that are either holdovers from when Jalen Hurts did it, or they've gone the distance with other teams. So yeah, no, Philadelphia has every tool necessary to make the run. It's just going to be whether or not the fairy tale season for the Rams concludes with them or finishes them. And that's going to be one of the big deals that happen tonight.
Well, they're hanging tough in there. They really hanging tough. So the Washington Commanders will play the winner of this game next week in the NFC Championship game. So look, folks, next week, let's talk about that, okay? We're going to be down to the Final Four after tonight. After the Bills and Ravens square off tonight, we will know who the Final Four is going to be. And there's nothing like AFC, NFC Championship weekend. We're going to be at another place, and we will let you know where that's going to be in the second hour. But, man, the excitement is here. Now, today was the first day that I've actually started reading some of my Super Bowl emails. And, where the parties and things are going to be happening. I do know that Shaquille O'Neal is having a big bash near the convention center down in New Orleans. I know that 50 Cent is throwing a big comedy show with Bill Bellamy and some of the other comedians. But the Maxim party, which is one of the biggest Super Bowl parties, wherever you go, is that's a popular party to get into. But the one that I'm trying to get in, and the one that I was invited in many years ago, was the Lee Steinberg party. That party is by invitation only. And that's Patrick Mahomes' agent.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Ever since he became Patrick Mahomes' agent, I haven't been able to get in contact with Lee Steinberg.
Wow, now that works.
As often as I used to be. But when the Super Bowl was in Phoenix, I don't know what was that, 49, when it was the Eagles, the Seahawks and the Patriots. You remember that Super Bowl?
Yes.
That we're going to just pass the ball on the 1 yard line. That Super Bowl, yeah. Well, I did go to a Lee Steinberg party. That was the last Lee Steinberg party I went to. And it was off the chain.
And see, I've never been to a Lee Steinberg party, but I do follow him on LinkedIn, and the posts are awesome. Always posting cool stuff on LinkedIn. That's my connection there.
Always, man. Lee Steinberg is a very, very nice guy, and that's the party. Of all the other parties, you can buy tickets to go to, but not that Lee Steinberg party. You have to be invited to that party. So a lot of great things going on. They got the NFL experience Now they call it the Super Bowl experience, where if you don't have a ticket to the game, you just want to go down to New Orleans and just hang out and just be in the in the circle of things. There's going to be a lot of things going on, and we know what happened a couple of weeks ago, but that could have happened anywhere. And our thoughts and prayers continue to go out to those people that lost their lives down there. But that city is going to be ready to go come Super Bowl Sunday.
Absolutely. And like you said, just to double down on it, thoughts and prayers out to everybody who was injured or had a family member lose their life or you lost your life or anything to that effect. Like thoughts and prayers out to you. That was a terrible thing. But the city of New Orleans will definitely heal and it will definitely be ready for the Super Bowl, which none of us can wait for.
Oh yeah, we cannot wait. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but anyway, Eagles are driving, so we should have a score update maybe for when we get into the second hour. All right, so how about we just go ahead and take this break, and when we come back, hour number 2 of the Mean Gene Show with Jacob Meadows, AJ, all coming from Kristen's Tailgate right here on 97.5 ESPN Houston. All right, welcome back for hour number 2, folks. This is the Mean Gene Show, live from Kristen's Tailgate, 2000 Bagby Street, in Midtown Houston. I am joined by the man who runs the Coach's Quarters podcast, and that would be Jacob Meadows here on divisional playoff weekend.
What to do, baby? Hey,
Right.
this is the cool. I've never been to this bar before, Gene. This is the coolest atmosphere. This is the coolest place you've taken me outside of the Virgin in Vegas, and this place is dope. It is absolutely popping. The energy is great. People are getting into this game. There's a lot of people cheering against the Eagles, and it is. This is a cool scene, man.
And that would be Bills fans because they probably don't want to face the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Is that probably what it is?
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
what it is. You'd think they'd be more scared of the Rams at that D line,
They
but
probably want the Commanders to go to the Super Bowl.
honestly, yeah.
That's what I'm going to say. All right, folks. So, well, I tell you what, this is also home of some of the best burgers in the city of Houston. Okay, and I know there's a lot of good burgers around here, but this place right here, they have won award after award for having some of the best burgers in the city of Houston. So, look, pick a location. You can come down here if you want to watch that Buffalo Bills Ravens game. You might be able to find some room. It might be standing room only if you don't hurry up and get down here. But I tell you what, come down here and get some of the food, or you can, if you're a Ravens fan, you can go over to the location in the Heights or Kirby Drive over there. But just find you a Christian's tailgate and hang out and enjoy it. Okay, so look, we will provide more updates here. Look like the Philadelphia Eagles are going to score. They were in scoring position before they got a costly penalty, so they might just get out of here with a field goal.
Yeah, it's looking like a field goal, Gene. That illegal man downfield killed him, and then Jalen Hurts got sacked. So it's looking like the Rams are going to pull it off. They're going to have to kick the field goal. Hopefully they make it. If not, the Rams might be able to take a commanding lead here in terms of field goal kicking. So
Tight game here, 13-all right now. Still in the third quarter, right? So
yes,
so we'll keep you up to date as we get ready for the big AFC division round game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if I've ever been part of such an anticipated division round matchup like this one here.
you're not kidding. And it's Lamar Jackson's playing at an MVP level, right? His stats are better than it was the last time he won an MVP. Josh Allen is playing at an MVP level. They have similar numbers, sort of, not really, but sort of. And the Bills were a team at the beginning of the season that I didn't think was going to make it out of the regular season, right? They had all the defensive turnover, and the Bills have made magic happen with what they were able to do.
And personnel changes that they did in the offseason. We was like, what are
Yeah.
y'all doing? You
Lost-
give it to Gabe Davis, you give it to Stephon.
Their first two receivers on the roster are
1 and
gone.
2,
Like
yeah.
11 of their defensive starters are gone. And Brandon Beane was able to put together another amazing Bills team. They've been able to make another run, and now they're a super team again, and they're fixing to face off against the Baltimore Ravens, who have also, they did the same thing, right? The Ravens built up their positions they were deficient at. They have looked great all year. And it's either going to be a really high-scoring game or it's going to be the game nobody expects, and it'll be won 17-13 in a defensive slugfight. We'll see.
I got to ask, and AJ, I want you to chime in on this too. When you look at teams that are trying to win the Super Bowl, we already know Detroit, one of those cities, teams look like America just pretty much has adopted Detroit because they feel bad for them. But they've never won the Super Bowl, never made it to the Super Bowl. But how about the Buffalo Bills? Can you say the same for them? A team that didn't they go to 4 straight Super
The
Bowls?
four falls of
Won.
Buffalo.
I mean, and didn't win any of them. So I think the Buffalo Bills, I mean, it would be a monumental letdown for them once again. No one ever thought that they would recover from those teams back in the 90s to get back to where they are now. But AJ, who's going to be hurt more? Is it going to be the Lions or the Buffalo Bills if they don't get to the Super Bowl?
In my opinion, I just think it's the Lions because the number 1 seed, they look like they're the most dangerous offense this season. And even despite all the injuries, having 30 players, 30 different starters on defense, they still were able to withstand that, having a good defense under Aaron Glenn. And really, their 2 coordinators are going to be gone now as head coaches. So that's why it hurts even more because this was going to be the last ride with them. So there's going to be a lot of flip over, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. So I think it hurts the Lions more because the Bills, for some reason, which I don't understand why, a lot of people expected them to have a down year. I know they lost Diggs, but still. But I think it's going to hurt the Lions more, honestly.
What do you think?
I'm in full agreement with AJ on that one. I think at least Aaron Glenn's gone from the Lions. I think Ben Johnson might actually run it back just because the team's available, the head coaching vacancies not better than where his position is with the Bills. So if Ben Johnson comes back, good on the Lions, but they're going to lose at least one of their coordinators. And this was a fantasy year for the Lions, right? Like first seed ever. This was a big year for them, and the collapse, I think, is going to be crushing for the city. And Buffalo, I think half the fans knew that this was going to be a dogfight of a season in the first place, and they're just happy to be here. So,
well, you know what? I gotta piggyback on what both of you guys are saying here about these coordinators. This is why it's tough to get back the next year because you lose people. I mean, you know, granted, you want these coaches to get jobs and have opportunities, and nobody's going to hold these guys back. But I tell you what, the Lions is just one of those teams that I think if you lose both coordinators, man, Dan Campbell's going to have to, I mean, you probably should just next man up or next coach up mentality. I don't see them bringing in anybody from the outside to take over in any one of these OC or DC positions. You should have your next coach underneath those guys be able to come in and lead. But it gets tough though. It's a different philosophy. These guys, we've heard Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn's name mentioned all year. These guys are probably going to be coaching their own team somewhere, but it will be tougher though.
yes.
It will be tougher.
Well, you have a recent example, right? The Philadelphia Eagles. They had their OC and their DC. One of them was Shane Steichen, and the other one, for the life of me, I can't remember the name of. But when they departed, it was right after the Super Bowl, right? They both left, and then last year you had the second half collapse by the Eagles, right? The coordinators just couldn't zero in on the team, and it definitely felt like the Eagles were at a giant loss. You didn't have that continuity, you didn't have that chemistry, you didn't have that coach you could really rely on, and it made a difference.
Not to mention, if a new GM comes into the process, then you got to look at what philosophy that person wants and what direction they want to go in. So, and they may not get the players that you want. The only coach I know that seems to can be able to deal with this is Andy Reid. I mean, Andy Reid will just find the right people and get it done. So, correction on that score. So 1 minute, 16 seconds left to go in the third quarter. So it's the Eagles 16 and the Rams 13. Okay, so a whole nother quarter to go, and hopefully this game will be wrapped up before we go off the air. But it's just amazing. Though I just think, and like I say, AJ, you can attest to this too. Dallas losing Dan Quinn, going through the multiple offensive coordinators, Kellen Moore and whoever else you got calling play. I mean, those things do matter. I think they matter a lot.
Yeah, for sure, it does. Coaching really matters a lot in football, honestly. Really more than other sports. Is like with basketball, you can get away with having a couple superstars and then compensate for the coaching. But in football, it makes a huge difference because you look at the legendary coaches of all time, Bill Belichick. I mean, come on now. Like there's plenty of examples. Even Sean McVay, who we're seeing right now too. I mean, what he's been able to do, being hired as a coach at 31 years old and being 38, still one of the best coaches in the league and still one of the youngest coaches in the league. So it definitely makes a difference. And for me, as a Cowboys fan, I wish we would have really last year fired McCarthy and promoted Dan Quinn because even when he was on the Falcons, he still led them to a Super Bowl. So, so it definitely makes a difference. So with Detroit, they're going to be contemplating a lot for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. So look, and I think Dan Campbell realizes that, and that's why you see those emotional type press conferences, and we're going to see where this thing goes here. And another team I felt to mention was look at the 49ers. When they decided to part ways with their defensive guy, I mean, they fired their guy, and they didn't even make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I mean, if coaching were inconsequential, right, the Raiders have a lot of talent. Raiders would probably be at the top of the totem pole, right? Like they would have been in the position that either the Broncos or the Chargers were in. But coaching was a bit of a letdown, and they most certainly were not. They were the bottom of the cellar. So, yeah, I mean, coaching is a very big part of things that people seem to disregard at some points. They blame it on the talent on the team, and that's absolutely not all of it. Without a good scheme, without somebody that can adjust in the heat of the moment, without somebody that can make adjustments when something is not working, you will lose games.
So now, and just to take it back to the Texans, so which one of their coordinators, or maybe both, do you think they both are gone, or the offensive coordinator for sure?
So, I was real heavy on Bobby Slowick leaving all season. After the playoffs, I think we would be better off if Slowick returned. I don't think we should lose any of our coordinators. I do think we should fire our offensive line coach, right? But that would be the only turnover I would want to see. And it boils down to the fact that I genuinely believe that Bobby Slowick couldn't necessarily open his bag because we didn't have an offensive line that understood how to pick up a blitz. And I think that that had a big part of everything Bobby Slowick wanted to do. And I could be wrong. And, you can show up at my door and call me an idiot all you want next season. If they do that, nothing changes. But I really do believe that Bobby Slowick should return. And, I mean, if he goes and takes another job, so be it. But he should return. We do need a new O-line coach. We cannot pick up a blitz. We do not know how to shift around on the O-line. But everybody else did their job. And the playoffs really exemplified that idea that Bobby Slowick's offense did well. We should have beat the Chiefs. We did beat the Chargers. We were good. And I think that that'll be a really big deal.
Well,
Let's go.
I tell you what, dude. You don't mind if I give Bobby Slowick your address because I want him to show up at your
He
door.
needs to come shake my hand. I've hated that dude all season.
Will you videotape when he calls you an idiot?
I sure will. I'll record the whole thing. I'm pulling for him now. I hope he returns. I think it would be good for Houston.
No, I do too. I hope that DeMeco Ryans can bring back everybody. I just think that's going to be critical. So we just had a major play happen here in the Rams and the Eagles game. Looked like a safety. So it is now 15-16, and the Rams will be receiving the ball. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, folks, we're going to talk about some of these new coaching interviews and changes that are taking place in the National Football League. It's the Mean Gene Show, live from Kristen's Tailgate on ESPN 97.5 Houston.
This is the Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
All righty. It is that time, folks. It is that time. It's time to talk about some coaching developments in the National Football League. As you know, look, now I had wrote this down and I left my notes, but I do know there's a couple of teams that are looking for head coaches, and we can start with the Jacksonville Jaguars, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know they're looking for a coach. The Dallas Cowboys are looking for a coach. How about the Chicago Bears are looking for a coach?
Yeah.
I think the New England Patriots have made it official, right? That Mike
Vrabel
Vrabel is going to be the head coach. AJ, I know I'm missing someone.
There were 6 head coaching vacancies. You're missing 2 of them.
So we're let's start with
the Jets.
The Jets, okay.
And the Raiders.
And the Raiders.
That's all 6.
So there we go. All right. So
Teamwork.
the Patriots did hire Mike Vrabel, the guy who they should have hired in the first damn place.
Yep.
Uh, Nothing against Gerard Mayo, but I just think Mayo should have been the defensive coordinator, and I think Vrabel should have been the guy. I think, they blew a whole season to test what I do not know. Hopefully Mayo will decide to get back into coaching. We don't know. I mean, I think he was kind of really hurt by what took place. But this shocking report came out yesterday, and the Chicago Bears are scheduled to interview former NFL running back and current Tennessee State coach Eddie George for their vacant head coaching job. And this is according to Fox Sports' Jay Glazer. So uh, this one, no one saw coming. No, we've heard Deion Sanders' name mentioned in connection with the Dallas Cowboys job, but Eddie George, the Bears really looking at everybody. It seems like they brought in Mike McCarthy, who I think is probably going to be a better fit. Jacob, I just think he's familiar with the NFC North, and he's won the Super Bowl in that division. That's the guy you should hire.
I think you're right. I do. We missed one team, right? It was 6 open vacancies after the Patriots. The Saints are the other team, and I think the Saints are a more palatable position for Mike McCarthy, and I think there's more mutual interest there. I think McCarthy ends up going to the Saints, leaving the Bears with the vacancy still open, which is why Eddie George has entered the chat. I think the Eddie George hire would be dope, though. I really do think it would be cool for him to get a chance. Everybody's looking to run it back with somebody like D'Amico, right? D'Amico Ryans, ex-player. He was a very smart player, and he has adapted well to being a coach. Eddie George, successful coach at the college level. If I'm not mistaken, he was a successful coach at the high school level. So,
and he was a successful football
and
player.
he was
Who drafted him in 1996?
Tell us, Gene.
The Houston Oilers. I mean, so, it's just one of those things that I didn't see coming. I never would have, that looked like Kenneth Gaines. Who is that? I don't know who that is there now. I can't even see with the snow.
Rogers, last name Rogers. There was an
Anyway,
interception by the Eagles.
Nah, Matthew Stafford probably didn't want to throw the ball in the snow. Anyway, not good there. So it looked like a lot of time left to go in the game, but a costly. Oh no, was that a fumble?
Was it a fumble?
Yeah, it was
okay,
a fumble in the snow. I take that back, Matthew Stafford. You did not throw an interception. Look, there is standing room only here. Okay.
And there's not much of that left.
And there's not much of that left. Okay. I don't know how we're going to get to get our food here, but this is really interesting. So you brought up a good point. I don't see Mike McCarthy as a good fit in New Orleans. I don't know. It just seemed like ownership of the Saints has just really changed since, I can't remember the owner that passed away. Man, me and names.
Yes.
Anyway, it just seems like, because I think it stayed in the family there. I don't know. I don't know. I think they have struggled. I think it would be an upgrade. I'm not a Dennis Allen guy. And it's going to end, and they're still trying to replace, Sean Payton.
Yeah, they're still trying to replace Sean Payton.
But that would be a good move. I do agree with that.
And I think that they give Mike McCarthy more power because of this Dennis Allen experiment going south so poorly. I think that Mike McCarthy's going to have a really loose leash there. I think that they'll pay him a little bit more money. And, quite frankly, they have a vacancy at the quarterback position, right? You have a couple of young guys in Spencer Rattler and the other are Jake Haener, I believe. But it gives Mike McCarthy an ability to go in, draft his own guy, build his offense the way that he wants to. They have Rashid Shaheed at wide receiver. They have Chris Olave at wide receiver. They have Kamara, who looks like he's never going to actually age out of the running back position. And it's a position that Mike McCarthy can come in, and he only has to swap out a couple of positions, and then he can blow and go. And that's something that he can potentially do in one draft, especially if they give him more leeway than, Uncle Jerry did. And is it a better spot than Chicago with all the talent there? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know if Mike McCarthy wants to deal with the Caleb Williams circus. I don't know if he wants to deal with a wide receiver core that's old outside of DJ Moore, or the running back room that's very up and down. I don't know if he wants to deal with all that. New Orleans is a better ready-to-play team, in my opinion.
Okay, Tom Benson was the owner. The late Tom Benson
Okay.
owned that team. Now his wife, Gail Benson, she is the current owner of that team. So they don't really mess around too much. I guess they haven't really had to when you had Sean Payton there for many years. Um, the last couple of, the Dennis Allen thing, it just didn't work out. So I mean, would be a good move if they were to bring in a McCarthy, who it'd be interesting to see what he would do in the NFC South division.
Yeah.
You got an Atlanta team that's still going to be good. You got a Buccaneers team that's still going to be good, and you're going to have a better Carolina team.
A much improved Carolina
Much
team.
improved
Shout
Carolina
out
team.
Dustin Pfeiffer.
So yeah, we'll talk about that. We're gonna have Dustin on here in a little bit. But anyway, so I want to talk to AJ real quick about Deion Sanders. And I said on the Sports King show the other day, I'm just not a fan of the hire. I don't think Deion Sanders should be the Cowboys' next coach. I think Deion needs to finish his business in Colorado.
I agree. Yeah, I like Deion Sanders, obviously, what he's done for college football at Jackson State and at Colorado, but I think he's a great coach for sure. But he's talked about repeatedly, he enjoys coaching kids more anyways. And I just get tired of all the rumors. But yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I saw something from Bleacher Reporters reported by someone from NFL Network. They don't expect the Cowboys to have an interview with him. So, I mean, if they're not going to interview him, then it points to not happening. But for me as a Cowboys fan, I want someone like an Aaron Glenn, a Ben Johnson, someone that will reset the culture. But I mean, ultimately Jerry Jones is gonna handle a lot of it. But I think Jerry Jones, he needs to look at himself in the mirror, especially after this season, though. Because I mean, all those games of getting blown out and stuff like that, saying he was surprised. I mean, that tells you a lot that you don't know everything and that you need to take your pride to the side and let some people help you because your way is not working. You haven't won in almost 30 years. Like, come on now. Obviously, there's a problem, and it's consistently you. Like, Dan Quinn leaves, takes some of the Cowboys players, and they're already in the championship game. Like, it's not a coincidence. It's literally Jerry being the problem. So, yeah.
AJ, vampires can't look at themselves in the mirror. It's in a book somewhere. Somebody wrote that. But
they just can't do it.
Yeah, it's against the rules. Yeah. And it does suck for the Cowboys, right? Because you have no interview scheduled, right? He's reached out to Kellen Moore with interest. He's reached out to Deion Sanders with interest.
They interviewed Kellen and Robert Saleh virtually, but that's it.
Well, I mean, the Kellen Moore hire sounds good for if you're going to keep Dak Prescott. I mean, I think they were trying to get something going there in, those two. And I will say this over and over again. You just can't go changing coordinators up on quarterbacks. And this turnover here for the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, this just sets the organization back. I don't know what who he's going to find. I think Robert Saleh is good if you want a good coach and somebody that can lead men in the locker room. I think Robert Saleh is the guy. But if you go and get Deion, and one of the reasons why I'm not really headstrong on Deion is because he said he would love to be able to coach his sons. Well, I mean, I think and maybe every father would, but what about the other kids there at the University of Colorado that came there for you? And for you to haul ass to go coach your kids, I just think that's very selfish.
I agree, yeah. And that's why I don't want Deion to go. Like, you had I think number 2 quarterback from this senior class. He left early to go to Colorado already. He was with Shagur in the Senior Bowl. So, yeah, that's a huge component of it as well. I hope he doesn't leave for that point right there because they had a really good recruiting class too. So, yeah, because, I mean, it just hangs the kids out to dry, honestly.
But at the same time, if Jerry Jones offer him the job, hell, how can you refuse it?
You throw enough money at a problem and eventually it's going to get fixed.
I mean, Jerry is the type of person that just might offer him the damn job. Jerry like yes people. He like non-controversial people. Who he trusts. He knows Deion better than all of those other candidates that you just mentioned, right?
Yeah, but that's the part of the problem too, though, is that he likes yes people and all that. I think Deion, if anyone, he would be able to give him the biggest pushback because, I mean, they have such a close relationship because of that nature. But I mean, the clear problem, everyone in America that follows football and sports knows that Jerry Jones is the problem. It's not a rocket science equation or anything like that. He's literally the issue.
Well, look here. Getting that locker room back is going to be priority number 1 for whoever the coach is going to be, because I've never seen so many players speak up after a coach was fired Dak Prescott was not happy. Michael Parsons was not happy. You don't like that. You don't like leaving that bad taste in your players' mouth, especially the ones that's still going to be there.
No, not at all. Because it does. It makes it harder to win the locker room over going into the next year. Because then, what do you do when your stars are pissed off, right? You have all these players that you're paying all this money to, and when they're the ones that are angry, what do? Because you can't get rid of them because of all the dead cap. If you can't make them happy, then where do you go? You have a team that underperforms and underachieves, and you're stuck in the same cycle the Cowboys have been stuck in since 1996, right? It just you can't go chasing
Yeah.
waterfalls, Gene.
Okay. That was a song. TLC. Yeah. Yeah. Don't go chasing waterfalls. AJ, you might have to play that song. I like that song.
That song
So,
is good.
all right. I tell you what, man, it is really the snow is coming down, and this place is getting really, really crowded. I hope it's not snowing in Buffalo. We need to kind of get a weather forecast. I don't like watching these snowy weather games. It just kind of kills the mood. But man, that snow is coming down, something serious. The Eagles were able to go down and get a field goal off that turnover. It is now 19-15, 13-23 left in the fourth quarter. There's a lot of game left, folks. Stick around. This is going to be a lot. When we come back, we cannot wait to talk with Dustin Pfeiffer from FanDuel Sports Southeast, covers the Carolina Panthers and the Charlotte Hornets. And he also is an analyst on the Mean Gene Show and the Sports King. So stick around. It's the Mean Gene Show live from Christian's Tailgate on ESPN 97.5 Houston.
You're listening to the Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
for the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
And we are back, folks, once again. Bottom of the second hour, the Mean Gene Show, live from Kristen's Tailgate at 2000 Bagby Street, Midtown, Houston. Jacob just let our waitress get away. We're never going to get any food in here because there's 10,000 people in here. But I think we might have some full, right?
You know what? I think they might think that we're important people. We might actually be able to get some. Yeah,
Okay.
I did whiff, man. I dropped the ball. She brought us some waters, and I was supposed to put in an order with her, and I just let her go.
All right. Well, look here. How about we welcome our longtime friend of the Mean Gene Show and the Sports Kings. He covers the Carolina Panthers and the Charlotte Hornets for FanDuel Sports Southeast. And I'm going to apologize right now because Dustin, I hope we can hear you, man. Dustin Pfeiffer, what's going on, Dustin?
Mean Gene, what's going on, man? Yeah, I can hear the fans in the background. A big turnover here by the Eagles to get the fumble, so definitely can hear those fans, but glad to be on with you.
Well, you know what? This ain't even Eagles fans here. This is probably 99.9% Buffalo Bills fans. They're all here for the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, I didn't know that you could find Bills fans in Texas.
Well, please just make sure that none of them are jumping through tables. We haven't even got the kickoff yet, so just make sure that they're safe and not taking out any tables so far.
Dustin, I've been encouraging that on every break. I want you to know there's not going to be a table left in this place when we leave.
I'm worried if they're going to be able to.
That's a mess. That's a massive game. I mean, it honestly feels like a AFC Championship or even a Super Bowl matchup with these two quarterbacks.
It really does.
Yes.
It really does. Dustin, we just did the Sports King show the other day, and look, man, we disagreed. Dustin kicked my butt in the wild card weekend picks, but so far in the division rounds, we only differed with one team. There, I picked the Texans. I was a homer. Okay, Texans didn't get it done in the division round in KC yesterday. But Dustin, just real quick, man. Look, a lot of officiating talk. It's been thrown around a lot. But what did you see in that game yesterday as to why the Texans were not able to get it done?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely do have to mention the referees, and I mean that's something that has been looked at with the Chiefs in the past, and really not just the Chiefs for me, but for the NFL overall. They've got to kind of get some of the officiating under control with the roughing the passer penalties and things like that. The one penalty where the two Texans players hit each other in the head and didn't even touch Mahomes, it's just unbelievable. So they definitely got to figure that out. But the game kind of went how I thought it was going to go. I thought Houston would hang around, but it's just the Chiefs defense continues to be a very good defense and makes the plays when they need to. And that's why the Chiefs are so dangerous. Nothing is pretty, but Mahomes doesn't even have to be Patrick Mahomes because of how good that defense is. And they did what they have to do. I don't think it was pretty and they looked that good, but at least Kelsey got to the end zone, and now the Chiefs are sitting waiting to host another AFC Championship game.
Yeah, it's ludicrous, kind of the calls that were made, but you can't take away from the fact that, right after that, the flop out of bounds by Patrick Mahomes, he turned around and in the midst of getting sacked, throws an absolute dot to Travis Kelce alone in the end zone. Like you said, he doesn't have to be peak Mahomes, but you do have to respect the fact that he's one of the best to do it, and at least in my generation. Like, he is a phenomenal athlete, and it hurts. Like, it really does hurt to admit it all of the time. But yeah, the Texans ended up beating themselves in that one. No matter what the officiating did, like no matter what calls were made that were good, that were bad, that were ugly, like the Chiefs were the better team. And I thought the Texans were either going to win by 6 or lose by 17. And the latter seemed to be a lot closer to right than the former. But it was one of those things, like, you had a really good call on that show. You picked that game perfectly correct, and it was one of those things where you read it great. It was the Chiefs are just a juggernaut. I do hope that they get blown out, whoever they play in the next round, but they are a juggernaut right now.
Yeah. I won't give away any picks for the following week, but I will say, if you do not like the Chiefs, which a lot of people do not, seeing as how they're back-to-back Super Bowl champions, you gotta be worried about it, because I'm going to be honest. I think this year is probably going to be the worst weapon that Mahomes has going forward. I mean, Kelsey's getting a little older. Xavier Worthy's a rookie. DeAndre Hopkins is the vet, but they don't have Rice. You know they're only going to improve this talent around them, and along with that defense. This Chiefs team, again, is not going anywhere for a while. As far as the Texans, I said this on the show a couple weeks ago, Jacob, and I was Jacob and team. It's time for the Texans to really go all in. I know it's only year 3 of C.J. Stroud, but you've got a quarterback. You need to invest all your money into the offensive line to give him a chance. Add another weapon. I know Stephon Diggs got hurt, but you really need to go get that offense right. So C.J. Stroud is not ready for his life.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. If the offense had better production against the Chiefs, I don't think the officials would have mattered. I think if we had the offensive output that we had really wanted in that game, the Texans would have won probably by 6, and that would have made me look great. But it's one of those things where we're missing Tank Dell, we're missing Stephon Diggs. If our offensive line could block anything at all, if George Karlaftis didn't devour C.J. Stroud in the fourth quarter, the game looks much different. They do need to get another big receiver outside of Nico Collins, somebody that can stay healthy, hopefully. We invested in Joe Mixon. We have 2 years left of the C.J. Stroud experiment before we have to pay him $1 million. And you're right. It's time to go all in. This is our year. This is the year that the window is completely open. And this is our time to really seize the carpe diem it, right? Seize the day. Because if we load up now, it's our best opportunity at winning a chip until either C.J. Stroud's gone or a couple years after he's been paid when the salary cap for us balances out again.
Yeah, you got to take it. You got to take it contract. Just all out there.
Hey guys, real quick, we just got a score update. The Eagles are now up 22-15 with a Jake Elliott field goal there in the snow. Dustin, one of the other things we talked about too, man, was the Detroit Lions and the Washington Commanders. We applauded the Commanders on the Sports King show, but we just knew that this was the year for the Detroit Lions. And me and you texted a little bit during that game. Was that not probably the upset of the decade?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a gut punch for the Lions. I mean, all they've been through over the past, just mentioned a couple of decades, the history of losing, even when they have Barry Sanders, and you finally get this moment to be the number one, and basically be the favorite to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC, and then you just kind of lay a note like that. And I know they've got a ton of injuries on defense, so you do have to take that into account. But I mean, look at what they did a couple weeks ago to the Vikings. Your defense has to step up. And they couldn't do that. And I just got to say, I mean, Jaden Daniels, superstar right now. Like, what he did last night, the throws he made on the run was just incredible. So I know we're going to talk about the Lions, but you got to give the Commanders a ton of credit. And now I'm telling you, the way Jaden Daniels is playing, it doesn't matter this team can go, and it's going to be interesting to see who they play, but they are riding at an all-time high.
They are. It's really scary, I tell you, man. And look, me and Jacob had talked here earlier in the first hour about look at the ingredients, man. No one just saw it coming. We looked at everybody else outside of Washington, but when you get a defensive-minded coach to be your head coach, and Dustin, you remember that with my man in Charlotte, who came from the Chargers. A defensive-minded coach that takes over at Ron Rivera, and then you get Dan Quinn. He comes in and takes over, and look, what does he do? He goes and get an offensive-minded genius like Cliff Kingsbury to work with a rookie quarterback, which is another good forte for Cliff Kingsbury. So the writing was on the wall. We just didn't read it well.
Yeah, and the thing about it, we mentioned this on the show the other day, Gene, this is a perfect example of you don't have to have an offensive-minded coach to go with your quarterback. You have to have somebody who can come in and lead a whole organization. And look what Dan done with the rookie quarterback. And I hate to throw the Cowboys fans and AJ, but hey, listen, you let Dan Quinn walk out of the building. You should not have done that. If you didn't
we told him that.
Dan Quinn was a perfect replacement.
Hello. We told him that. Yeah, we told him that. I mean, look, and look, hindsight 2020. I know, and I mean, look, Washington, and just look what Magic Johnson and the other owner there with the ownership group there of the Washington Commanders. Man, this team is going to be good for years to come, Dustin.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say about that is, and we talk about this all the time, Gene and Jacob, is if you're an NFL franchise and you're on the bottom right now, if you have the right ownership group in place and the right guys running your team, it does not take long to turn it around quick. Look at how bad the Commanders were under Dan Snyder. We're talking a decade plus of just terrible ownership, terrible organization management. He leaves, and in 1 to 2 years, they have this team in the NFC Championship game because they draft right, they get a quarterback who's going to be a superstar, they get a head coach, and now here they are near the top of the mountain only in year one of their rookie quarterback. So that should give hope to all these other teams. You just got to have the guys in the right place to take a look at this.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Dustin, look at man, it's always a pleasure having you on. Looking forward to championship weekend and what's going to happen. We'll find out the 4 contenders for the Super Bowl here after tonight, and we'll see you back here again when you're available, man.
Hey, Dustin,
Yeah,
before
man,
you go,
looking forward to it. I have the Bills in the next game. I just want you to know that I have the Bills. So please make sure they don't get too rowdy in that place when you're down there.
I do too. I'm pulling for the Panthers all year next year. I can't wait to text you after every game. I cannot wait to see what the Panthers do.
And Jacob, just be glad we didn't have time for me to throw out that mention of me knocking you out of the fantasy play.
Oh yeah. Hey, Dustin, you take care, man, and we'll catch up with you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Dustin Pfeiffer joining us from FanDuel Sports Southeast. And we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to wrap up the show. We're going to get some food, and we're going to get ready for the Buffalo Bills and the Ravens. But first, there's still 5 minutes left to go in this game. Can the Rams come back? You listen to the Mean Gene Show live from Christmas Tailgate on ESPN 97.5 Houston.
This is the Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
All right, everybody. Once again, we are in the last segment of the Mean Gene Show from Kristen's Tailgate, 2000 Bagby Street, Midtown Houston. Look, it's too late now. You cannot find a place to sit down in here. And, everything is taken, okay? So, look, I got some Bills fans that are just right next to me. I don't know if our YouTube live stream people can see. But anyway, you guys are Bills fans, right?
Heck yeah, go Bills.
Okay, so, how is it that all of the Buffalo Bills fans know where to come and hang out?
Well, the thing about being a Bills fan, it's about a community. It's about family. It doesn't matter where you live. We've got supporters in every city across the United States, quite frankly, and we can always find a bar to go to, and Christians is one of the ones that a lot of the Bills backers go to, and it's pretty amazing.
You guys really got this place you have taken over this entire bar.
Yeah,
and it's a long way from Buffalo,
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. When people start jumping on tables, that's when we start to get a little nervous.
Okay.
That's the best part of the experience.
That is the best part, yeah. Go Bills! Go Bills!
I know they're getting ready to do a cheer of some sort right here. Jacob, is that what you got going on over there?
We are. And right after we cut from this interview, This is the vice president of the bar right here. We're going to.
Oh, my goodness, man. You guys just look. Okay, now, did you guys know that at one of our other Christian tailgates, all of the Ravens fans are there? They are taking over that Christian's tailgate.
No way, I did not know that.
Thank God we didn't get y'all in here together.
This is the better of the two.
We would have to have the National Guard if that was the case.
Well, it's probably really quiet there because, they're from Baltimore.
Why wouldn't it be? Yeah,
they're not doing much.
Okay, well, look, it's going to be a great game. And I guess whoever wins that game, we know, plays for the right to face the Kansas City Chiefs. So do you feel it's the Buffalo Bills this year?
That's what we feel right now. We got to get past this hurdle and one game at a time. And, our defense has got to step up today, and Josh Allen's going to have to be a bit of a rock star. But it's going to be awesome. It's in Buffalo, and you got to count on the Mafia to help out.
Every time.
Well, let's get the Mafia started, right? You ready to get them started?
Hey,
thanks, man.
Thank you, guys. Go Bills.
Alrighty. Go Bills. Man, we are really, really, really trying to get this thing going here because it's not okay. The Eagles, by the way, have pretty much won this game. The Eagles will be facing their division rivals, Washington Commanders, in the NFC Championship game. What do you got going on over here?
We have the vice president of Christian's Tailgate right here in the house with us. He's been walking around. He's been super, super awesome with us, kind of helping bring us drinks. He's about to hook us up with some menus so that we can order food and have it ordered before the Buffalo Bills ultimately beat the Baltimore Ravens today.
We're hoping.
And we just wanted to bring him on to say a big thank you and let him, get a little bit of that Bills enthusiasm out before this game starts.
Let's go, Buffalo. If you're a Bills fan, there's still a little bit of room here. You want to get down here by 5:30. If you don't make it this week, hopefully there's 2 more games coming. We're here every game, so every game, every year, regular season, postseason. Come on down. We're having a great time.
You got some Bills fans sitting at home like, man, I didn't know this. I wish I would have known.
We're all over social media. Look us up, Houston Bills Backers on Facebook, Instagram. If TikTok ever comes back, we're there. But we're all over. Look for us. I'm Buffalo Joe. You can find me on Facebook, and we'll answer any questions that you have.
All right, Buffalo
Nice.
Joe. Thanks, man.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks.
Go Bills.
All right. Look here, folks. That's just, look, while all of that was happening, somehow the Eagles did something.
Saquon Barkley scores a long touchdown like he has all
goodness.
season long.
In the snow.
In the snow.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we completely missed that, but we just wanted to kind of, let you know what was going on up in here. And I'm not for certain which Kristen's Tailgate it is. I want to say it's Kirby or it might be the Heights, but they are not. But there's nothing there but Ravens fans. AJ, was that incredible?
Oh yeah, no, that was awesome to see that. The Bills have some of the best fans in the NFL, so that's cool to see, especially in the Houston
I didn't know
area,
they
too, just
show up like
coming
this.
together.
I
It'll be
know
a
how
good time
Steeler
for
Nation
there
rolls.
for sure. Especially with y'all around, and that's going to be a fun game to watch.
Say that again, AJ. I missed it.
I said it's going to be a fun game to watch, especially with y'all there. It was cool to see the fans just together, especially in the Houston area, just seeing how good their fan base is and just how much they support each other, too. You see, hear about the fans, giving back to charities and things of that nature, even opposing teams, too. So they definitely have a great fan base.
They really do. Look, a couple of years ago, I did a Minnesota Vikings watch party, and it was, it kind of just looked just like this, but just purple people all over the place. But yeah, it's exciting to see. So look, we know the majority of the city is Texans fans, and that's what you're supposed to be. But if you are not a Texans fan, you live here, it's okay. We're not going to come down on you for that. You need to really, if your team is playing, you want to represent your team. It's nice that you can go places all around the city and do that. All right, Jacob.
Before we cut,
Yeah.
we got to stretch this as far as we can. They're about to put on the Bills fight song and have the whole bar going loud. I'm going to flick the camera around on the computer and try and capture as much of this as I can because Buffalo Joe promised an experience.
This game is pretty much over here. There's not a whole lot Matthew Stafford is going to be able to do in this kind of weather. Can he score before the game's over? I think he can, but this is really.
Can he score twice is the question, and that's tough.
Yeah, that's going to be tough here. But man, we have had a wonderful time here. So I would tell you next week. Next week, you can chase us down at Tom's Watch Party, 1201 Caroline Street.
One, two. Bill
Downtown
fans.
Houston. Okay, I think they're getting ready to.
I think we're about to launch.
Bill fans, make some noise.
Okay, so this is what we're.
Yo, real quick, we got
dealing with here.
ESPN radio in the house. Y'all make some noise for
Okay.
them. They'll be here. Make some noise for them right quick, y'all.
Okay.
So they want to hear how we get down after we score a touchdown real quick. So we're going to do a little shout song rendition. JoJo, you ready to go? Okay, man, let's do this. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, it's one of those type of
It's
parties.
a Bills party, baby.
It is a Bills party.
This is the coolest house we could have done this show from.
This is how the Bills fans do it, people. I wonder what they're doing over at the Ravens bar.
Not this.
But they're throwing down over here. Christian's Tailgate, Midtown, 2000 Bagger Street. Look, if you can get in here, come on in. Standing room only. Wow, this is amazing.
This was cool, man. They put on a show for us.
This is all right. Oh, this is incredible. Let's go, Buffalo. Let's go, Buffalo. Oh, man.
Oh, that was cool, man.
That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Well, AJ.
Okay,
I tell you
real
what.
quick. Also, we got squares.
For some reason, if the Ravens win,
Red,
they
right
do
here in the
nothing.
red
We're going
cowboy
to come
hat.
back on the air and do a
We got
post.
plenty of room on the square.
They'll blame
board.
y'all.
$5 a square. $5
Yeah,
a square.
1000%.
We'll show you what it looks like then. But no, this has been great. AJ, as always, man, thank you for everything. Look, what I was saying before the Bills pep rally, next weekend, NFL Championship weekend, we're going to be at Tom's Watch Party, 1201 Caroline Street, downtown Houston, okay? That place is going to be packed as well.
$5 a square.
Come and check us out. Hey, it's going to be a party. We bring the party with us. You got to see it on this show tonight. It'll be a party.
It's going to be a party.
And AJ, it was so nice to see you again, dude. I've missed you.
Miss you too, brother. Yes, sir. Back next week.
We got a Ravens fan trying to win the board.
You know what time it is, right? It's hamburger time, baby. We're getting ready to do this, folks. Enjoy the AFC division round game between the Ravens and the Bills. That game is going to be coming up 30 minutes after this game. So right around
Ravens,
at the bottom of the hour,
fans,
you'll be able to see that game. So there's going to be a little break so you can go get your food and your beverage. We'll see you back here on the Mean Gene Show right here on ESPN 97.5 Houston.